Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me today on this this webinar on herbal treatments for high blood sugar conditions. We're going to talk about the causes of this condition, by the way, which medical term is diabetes. We'll just call it high blood sugar, and the different types. And of course, this is I'm an Ayurvedic doctor, Ayurvedic herbalist, so we're going to talk a little bit more from the perspective of Ayurveda when we talk about types. We're not just going to talk about type 1, type 2, pre-diabetic, diabetic, and insulin dependent, which would be kind of more of a Western perspective of breaking down the types. In Ayurveda, there's 22 different types, and I have done webinars on those whole 22 types, but we're going to simplify it here today. And then I'm also going to talk about misconceptions, which we hear online, pretty much from people, kind of repeating the same thing that the other people write, or just repeating what they've read. I mean, I don't think many of these people you're watching online are meeting patients every day and successfully getting them off of their blood sugar medication. They're just researching and presenting it back to you again. So that's why you see the same old things. We're going to talk about that. And, not to say that these treatments or things you hear online don't have value, but they're often incomplete because most of my clients have already tried them. So we're going to talk about certain misconceptions like vitamins and extreme diets and things like that. Then we will cover the fundamentals of the diet, but because it's Ayurveda and there's different types, we do have different diets for different types. There's no one diet for everybody. And the name of our subject today is herbal treatment. So we're going to focus on the key herbs, some Western herbs, some herbs that you'll be able to buy yourself, and then some Indian formulas, which is mostly how I'm using to reverse insulin resistance, even get people off of insulin dependence, and of course, get them off of various blood sugar medications. It's mostly the Indian herbs doing the job, the Indian formulas, because these are old proven formulas that have been passed down literally for centuries, and they're already proven. So back to the cause. The cause, of course, we know what the cause is. I mean, it's not hereditary. Let's just face it there. It's not in your genes. There's already research of people who say they were mother and father were both diabetic. They put the child up for adoption, and the people who adopted the child raised the child, and the child never had any blood sugar issues. And then it's worked the other way too, where people have adopted children from, say, Asian families who had no history of diabetes or high blood sugar, and then they brought them to America. They gave them the old American diet, and the child grew up obese with diabetes. So we know what the cause is. It's diet and eating habits, both. So let's just talk about, before we get into the different types of blood sugar issues, which, insulin resistance. Let's talk about the fundamentals of these causes. I mean, I always question people a lot, when they're my patients, and, I'm kind of a little bit sly, I guess, in my questioning. And I say things, oh, you're having coffee? Okay, you put sugar in your coffee. Oh, okay, how many spoons? You're just a 1-spoon person, or you're a 2-spoon person? Oh, okay. How many little cubes do you use? Okay, oh, no, how long have you been taking coffee? You're 56 now, and when did you think you started having coffee? And I try not to repeat the word sugar too much, so they don't know what I'm going for here. And, some people say, oh, I've been having coffee since I was a teenager, since I was in my 20s, after I had my first kid, so I calculate out the years, how many years we're talking. And then I let them know that's why you have diabetes. Now, of course, we have other cultures. They were just Indians, for example. They're doing chai, which you just make chai with the sugar right in it. When I go to an Indian restaurant, it's even hard to get chai without the sugar. And it often doesn't even taste good without the sugar unless you have really good chai. Now, I sell and make a chai that's fantastic without sugar in it, but it's all fresh herbs and spices. And I do put a little peppermint in there for the taste. And traditionally in Ayurveda, there was no black tea and chai, but nowadays it's all black tea with cream and sugar. And Indians will be drinking like 3, 4, 5 for these little cups a day. If you've taken a long taxi trip in India, the taxi driver will just pull over like every hour or so and buy another chai. And he's just drinking it all day long. And same if you go if you hang out with a trucker, they're also drinking coffee all day long, and they're not doing it black. So the coffee with the sugar, the chai with the sugar. And then, of course, the real killer is the soda pop with the high fructose corn syrup. I mean, that'll do you in. So if your parents had, soda pop when you were young, they got diabetes more than likely. You got in the habit of drinking the soda pop. You're still drinking the soda pop, and then you have diabetes. So, and anybody like drinking soda pop is probably having cookies, candies, and other things too. So you can just add it all up. So when I talk to people, I said, and I make them fill out a form. If you're my patient, you see I have a big form, and it says, do you snack? And then it says, what snacks? And I have a little check off boxes, cookies, ice cream, protein bars, nuts. I put all these little things, so it's easy for people just to check the little box. And you'd be surprised how many people are checking cookies and ice cream. And then I ask them, so do you still having cookies? And most people say, sometimes. Now, I'm talking to a diabetic. I mean, they're already having high blood sugar numbers and more than likely already on medication by the time they come to me. And they're still saying they have cookies sometimes. No, we all know what sometimes means. Okay, come on. I mean, we know what that means. I mean, we're all adults here. And ice cream sometimes. So now we have a person and then of course alcohol. I mean, you could be not doing the soda pop and just be doing the alcohol. So you could be doing, beer. I don't try to rub it into people. I just need to kind of, have them understand that they caused it, because I've have diabetics on blood sugar medication who are still having soda pop because, quote, the doctor didn't tell me to stop. Now, I guess if you would have told the doctor I'm having 3 soda pops a day, he probably would have said something. But since he didn't ask, you didn't tell him, he's got no form, he doesn't even know what you're eating. Like, I want to know everything you're eating: breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, dessert, everything, because I can look at that and say, oh my God, this person probably is going to get diabetes or has diabetes. And then I look in the form later on. Oh, yep, that's what they're calling me for. And people just aren't getting it. And so that's the cause. And it's, the sweets. And sweets doesn't include fruit. I mean, you'd have to eat a lot of fruit to jack up your blood sugar, or fruit juices with a lot of, without the fiber. If you had that a lot every day, this would do it. And there's some drinks that aren't necessarily soda pop. There's all types of drinks and yerba mate drinks and health drinks and organic drinks that still have a lot of sugar in them. And if you just had a gulp a day, if you're maybe fine. If you drank part of it, fine. But, when you start drinking 1 can or 1 bottle every day and it's got 40% sugar in it, it's going to catch up to you. It's like straining your system. Now, of course, Ayurveda looks at this condition of diabetes very differently than the Western perspective, but we should take quite seriously the Ayurvedic perspective, since they're treating it successfully. And it's not like some discovery. People go, oh, I can't believe you're treating diabetes. Even today, I got somebody who said, oh, I can't believe the herbs work. So sometimes people, they do the appointments and they're not even believing it's going to work, even though their friends sent them. And then they're so surprised that their blood sugar comes down when they're taking these herbs after every meal. And they go, oh my God, you should be famous. I go, no, there's a lot of Ayurvedic doctors doing this. And there's even more of them doing it in India. And they were doing it a long time ago. They had blood sugar issues in ancient times, just not as bad as today, but they did have sweets, even 100 years ago, they started getting, diabetes. And so they were treating this for hundreds of years. So these formulas and this approach is very old. It's not new. It's not based on vitamins and minerals and we don't even talk about, we know it's related to the pancreas. We know it's an organ we're talking about is the pancreas. And because we know it's producing the insulin, and Ayurveda knew that the pancreas was the organ involved, just like when you're dealing with cholesterol, you're dealing really with the liver. That's what you're really focusing on. You're treating the liver. You're not really treating cholesterol. You're treating the liver. And with high blood sugar, you're treating the pancreas. So you're really only treating organs and systems. That's all there is. Medical terms, often confuse people. I mean, they make people think they have some rare and hard to treat or impossible condition. Like it has a fancy name, like people come, I got fibromyalgia. Well, okay, let's just stop calling it fibromyalgia and call it inflammation of your muscle tissue, particularly your connective tissue. So you basically have inflammation in your muscles. Let's just call it that, what it is. Same for irritable bowel. I have irritable bowel. Okay, no, just call it what it is. Inflammation in your colon. So this is when you're talking about diabetes and high blood sugar, you're talking about a so the question is really, well, how does your pancreas become poor functioning? Because it becomes overused. You're overusing it by having the sweets, and it's releasing the insulin, and it's dealing with it. The insulin, of course, we know all of the negative adverse effects of having high blood sugar, neuropathy, amputations, poor circulation, dry skin, eye damage, eye problems, and even a lot of cardiovascular conditions can come from high blood sugar. Kidney problems can come from high blood sugar. So it's very damaging for the tissue, not just the nervous system. It's just damaging for the tissue. So the body is very smart. It created a backup system in case you ate too many bananas. You just ate bananas all day long. In ancient times, you would have had the same problem, and the body would have the pancreas would have produced the insulin to stabilize that high blood sugar, because even high peaks of high blood sugar, even once in a while, can be damaging even for your kidneys in particular, very sensitive to high numbers. So even spikes that come back down still can have an adverse effect on some other organs and tissue. In this case, those spikes can affect even your kidneys. And we get a lot of people with kidney failure because of high blood sugar. We get people with high blood pressure because of high blood sugar. It's called the trifecta there. You got the high blood sugar, you got the high blood pressure, and you got the kidney failure. And in fact, I'm getting so many of these cases, I made a special appointment called for complex appointments, because mostly when you book an appointment with me, it's an hour and a half. My staff gives me 2 hours, so I actually have 2 hours to deal with the case. There's a little buffer zone there. But when you've got kidney failure, then we require the person book a 2-hour appointment instead of an hour and a half, which actually gives me up to 2.5 hours, because particularly if there's kidney failure, high blood pressure, and diabetes. Now, if you just come to me with the diabetes, okay, you can stay in the hour and a half. I can take care of this. I just high blood pressure, okay. But see, kidney failure, the diet's very restricted. And then if you've got high blood sugar and high blood pressure with kidney failure, you're going to be on a very restricted diet. The more health problems, the more the diet is going to be customized for you. And that takes me time to go through the diet with people. That's really the time that is required. But back to the causes. It's not just eating all these sweets. It's the habits too. The snacking. This is a big problem because I don't want to get into talking about glucose and insulin resistance and all of that, even though my anatomy is quite good, because that really just confuses you. And, it's like a scientific approach that you can't put your finger on. I'm not saying that this is not what's happening inside of our cells and, the absorption of our cells, but it's not necessary to look at your condition from this point of view. It may be helpful on some level, but we've had Indian doctors and Indians treating diabetes without this knowledge for hundreds of years. They didn't even understand to the degree that we understand now about insulin resistance. But they understood the effects, they understood how to treat it, and they knew the herbs to take. And they knew the different types. And like I said, there's 22 different types of Ayurveda according to 22 types of blood sugar issues. We could say 22 types of diabetes in Ayurveda. So it's much more sophisticated, much more detailed, and much more individualized. And nobody will get the same diet because there's different types. But back to the eating habits, this is a big cause because we now know that, you got to, by not eating, you're going to burn off the glucose, you're going to lower your blood sugar, and you're going to give your pancreas a little break here because you're not going to eat for 3 or 4 hours. Even snacking on nuts is a terrible habit. And this, of course, creates bad digestion, weight gain, constipation, all kinds of problems snacking on nuts. But the snacking on the cookies and the ice cream, that's a killer. So having spaces between the meals is very important. So it's not just the meals. It's not just it's also the habits, even eating irregular, eating too late, trying to graze throughout the day, having 5-6 meals, which people used to advocate that all the time. Oh, don't let your blood sugar go up, have 5 meals a day. These are all like old theories. And you notice these theories, they're kind of like they come, everybody believes them, everybody follows them, and then they're gone again, kind of like a fad. So we're not talking at that level. So these are the main causes, is your diet and your eating habit. And of course, the foods, we could break it down from a nutritional science point of view, and we could use the dreaded term, too much carbs. But having no carbs is not a solution. Everybody's tried that. We're going to talk about that. So the misconceptions people have about treating diabetes or high blood sugar is they believe that vitamins are the cure. I take natural supplements every day. And I recommend my clients to take some whole food-based supplements. But, you get online or you talk to a nutritionist, and there's all these people on YouTube that are saying, okay, take vitamin D, take magnesium, take chromium. Chromium picolate used to be really popular, increase your fiber, and this is a cure-all. Well, I would say more than half of my patients have already done that. And most of the time I could tell them just to skip most of these. Maybe you can stick with the D3. Okay, you can still have your probiotic. Most times they don't need to take extra fiber. Some people are like, also there's B12. People do talk about taking one herb. They usually mix the herbs right up with the vitamins and supplements. Herbs are not supplements. Herbs are herbal medicine. Vitamins and minerals like D3 and B12 and chromium and magnesium, all these things are recommended for high blood sugar conditions. And, they got some value, but it's not going to treat it. Vitamins are for deficiency. And yes, certain deficiencies can be a problem, but if we go back to the pancreas, we're trying to improve the function of the pancreas, to take the burden off the pancreas and help it to improve its function, which of course goes down to, managing the insulin resistance. So that's the first misconception, that you can just take a bunch of vitamins and you're going to treat your diabetes. It's not a nutritional problem. You may have nutritional deficiencies, and it's a whole nother subject on these vitamins. I wouldn't take these D3. These are all chemicals. All this D2 little sublinguals, I wouldn't take. These are all chemicals. I wouldn't touch them. But there are food-based supplements that can be beneficial, but you're not going to reverse your blood sugar issues. Now, if you're in the early stages and you're measuring your blood sugar on a regular basis and you start to get some high numbers, 130s, 140s, in the morning, fasting, or after you eat 2 hours later, which is really the best test, 2 hours after you've eaten, it should come right back down. If it's not coming down and you're in the 140s, you're not too high. Hopefully you can just change your diet and reverse it. In the early stages, you can just change the diet, maybe throw in a few vitamins and pull it off. But unfortunately, most of my patients have already done that, or they've been diabetic too long, or they've been on the medication and still eating poorly, believing the medication was a good enough treatment. Well, that's a false sense of reality, because you're taking the meds, you're artificially pushing down your blood sugar, you're still not changing your diet, you're snacking, and you're still adversely affecting your pancreas. And the doctor's just going to have to increase the medication or throw you on a second medication because you haven't really got rid of the cause. So the cause is the first thing you always have to treat. The other misconception about treating high blood sugar conditions is extreme diets. Like I said, diet and eating habits is the name of the game here. The first thing that has to change, but it's the herbal medicine that does the reversing, that supports the pancreas, that supports the body's ability to, let's just say, deal with the insulin and stimulating the pancreas to make sufficient insulin, helping the pancreas recover, just like we do with high cholesterol numbers. You have to change the diet. You can't keep having, a steak and hamburgers and big fat and fried food. That has to go. That's how you got it, but it doesn't necessarily reverse it right away. You have to treat the liver, improve the liver function, and then that's how we reverse it. Same here. We're treating the pancreas, and you'll see some of the products that I provide, they talk about the pancreas. You're treating the pancreas. But the diet is important. The problem we have is that, in the past, people would do the vegan diet. Now, I'm not, there's many people that can benefit from no dairy and no animal protein at all, particularly if you're obese. And in Ayurveda, you're the kapha type of person, heavy, dense, overweight, and you have high blood sugar. Plus, you have other conditions like fatty liver, high cholesterol, which would pretty much eliminate the animal protein. Because if you have fatty liver and high cholesterol, you can't be doing no keto diet because you're going to have all that extra fat and protein. If you have kidney failure, you can't be doing a keto diet with all that protein. So in that case, you're overweight. You've also got excess body fat. You've got high cholesterol. You've got, maybe even fatty liver. Maybe your kidney numbers aren't good. Then you probably definitely got to lean towards this no animal protein approach, which many people have got off of stabilized their blood sugar by losing 50 pounds and doing a kind of vegan-like diet. But that's not, again, for everybody. That's for the category that I just described to you, kapha type in Ayurveda. That's a type of person, heavy, dense, and definitely overweight. But even then, the person could have a little ghee. Isn't going to hurt them. Ghee doesn't increase cholesterol. Ghee is dairy, so you don't have to be so radical. You can still have egg whites. There's still, you don't have to, be in this radical category of vegan. If your goal is just to lose the weight, get the cholesterol down, and manage your blood sugar, it could go in that direction of no dairy, no animal protein. And for protein, instead, we would use the beans. So a lot of diabetics, particularly if they're very overweight, particularly if they have high cholesterol and fatty liver, I don't use the animal protein. I know everybody, nowadays, everybody's talking about the high protein, high fat diet. But if you're overweight and constipated and blocked up and you have lymphatic congestion and clogged liver, gallbladder problems, then I do the beans, beans with healthy fat, like sunflower oil. Now, I know seed oils aren't popular either, but, I'm not following trends here. I'm following what works. And I give everybody with super high cholesterol, fatty liver, and gallbladder attacks, sunflower oil. Works great, even though nobody likes it because it doesn't have enough omega-3s. But it does the job. So the other extreme, which is really more popular now because the vegan approach was popular more like 10, 15 years ago. And now we've got the other direction of extreme. I hate extreme. I always try to find the right diet for the person without having to be too extreme. Now, of course, if you do the vegan diet and you leave off the beans, well, you're going to have a protein problem. And you can see that with a lot of vegans. Their hair falls out, the girl's menstrual cycle stops, and they become kind of weak and frail. They don't have good muscle building because they're not eating enough protein. So if you're going to be vegan, you got to have the beans. You just can't, you're not going to just do protein shakes for the rest of your life. So that's the big mistake. A lot of mistakes you can make in being a vegan. But back to the new fad, and that is the no carbs, no carbs. Oh no, carbs are all bad. Well, let's, even a vegetable has carbohydrates in it. Fruits has carbohydrates in it, and we need the carbohydrates just to run. So there is no such thing really as a no carb. But what people are really referring to, I know, is grains. They really need to just say no grains. But it's not necessary to do no grains because there are grains that you can have even as a diabetic. Buckwheat is what Eastern Europeans are using. Even millet particularly works very well for weight loss and swelling and water retention. So there's, and even quinoa. Quinoa is a very good grain, and it's got the B vitamins, so you won't be deficient in the vitamins that come in grains, which are mostly the B vitamins. That's why they call them the calming foods, these grains. But what we have today is we have people doing this radical like paleo, keto, carnivore diet, where, they're pretending we're all living in a cave and there's no vegetables, there's no grains. So these people, they come to me too. They usually have plenty of protein, a lot of protein, because they love protein, and they're using the protein to kind of stabilize the blood sugar, which will work. But again, it's so extreme, they come with other problems. With no grains, you're going to be low in the B vitamins. So that's why both of these type of extreme diets, they always talk about the vitamins you have to take at the same time because it's not a complete diet. And when you don't have grains, you're going to be short on a lot of B vitamins. And then without the B vitamins, that affects your nervous system. So some of these people end up with anxiety and nervousness. And if you had a neurological issue and you went on this type of no grain diet, it's only going to make your neurological condition worse, which I see. But the main reason, keto followers end up coming to me is kidney failure, because they're doing this high protein diet. They get all buff and strong. Weightlifters love this high protein, high fat diet. And then that's high protein, of course, creates more uric acid. And the high uric acid eventually is, ends up with gout and pain. And that usually gets them in the door. And then they have to go eat the beans. And the other reason these high fat diets will get people, they come to me. I mean, they're just coming to me. This is not theory. We're basing on, thousands of clients and regularly seeing people do these diets, and then what's happening. So this is based on what I'm seeing. And I've seen it on line videos about how keto can lead to gout. You can type that up. That's in there. People know about it. But also when you do that high fat, high protein diet, these people come to me with fatty liver, gallbladder problems, and high cholesterol because it's too much fat. And then it's too much protein. And the protein, of course, is going to maybe helps contribute to tumors and growths. And whenever you have a growth in your body, whether it's a uterine fibroid or cyst or a tumor, whether it's malignant or not, we generally get rid of all this protein, particularly the animal protein. And if you're a big person with a tumor, you're going to be eating beans. There's no more meat anymore. So you have all that animal protein, you're definitely going to be more susceptible to cancers, particularly tumor cancers, particularly colon cancer. And I do see these people coming to me with these conditions. So that said, you're thinking, okay, well, what the heck am I going to eat then if I can't do the keto and I can't do the vegan? Well, it depends. That's the answer. That's always going to be the answer when you talk to me. When I spoke publicly a lot, people would always raise their hand and say, hey, is keto diet good? I would say it depends. Is vegan diet good? It depends. Is coffee good? I say it depends. So I always use that as an answer because that's the truth. Once you really understand these diets, the foods, what actions they have on your body, it all depends. What does it depend on? It's depending on the individual. So if you're a thin person and you have high blood sugar, I'm going to let you have the the animal protein for sure, because I can't put you on beans because you're going to lose too much weight and become too depleted. That's if you're a Vata type of person. So if you're a Vata type of person, you're thin, you're light, you're cold, and you're already, your weight's kind of on the low side, and you've got maybe even some anxiety and neurological issues, which are common for Vata types. Then I'm going to let you have the grains and let you have the animal protein, both, because I don't want to create new problems. And you have to remember that as long as they're, not doing the snacking, the ice cream, the cookies, the soda pop, those are all the causes. I don't have to be extreme with the diet. I just got to make sure the client's not making it worse with the diet, because I have the herbs. The herbs are more powerful than just the diet. And then we're going to talk about those herbs. So, but if a person is heavy, overweight, like I mentioned, and has high cholesterol, see, it also depends on what other conditions the person has. So diet really depends on what other health conditions you have going at the same time. And everybody with diabetes has a couple more going. And some people could have loose stools and diarrhea, and some people could have constipation. Even that will dictate the diet to a large degree. That people say, here's another misconception people have. Oh, have fiber, and they're eating oatmeal every day. Well, oatmeal is about the most fattening grain you can ever eat. And if you don't add fat to it, it's just still going to spike your blood sugar just because it's got fiber. And that's the problem by eating foods based on just one nutrient. It's like people eating chocolate just because they want the magnesium, or people eating bananas just because they want the potassium. Now, this is completely the wrong way of thinking. I finally thought of a good analogy to explain this to people. It'd be like marrying a man because he's got good testosterone. That's it. You don't care about anything else. You just saw those testosterone numbers and you said, well, that's my guy. I'm going to marry him. That's what you're doing when you eat a food that's high in one nutrient. There's a lot more to the man than just his testosterone. Okay, maybe the women, they like that testosterone. It's certain qualities they'd like in a man. But you can't be picking a man just on his testosterone. You can't be picking a woman just on her estrogen levels. And you can't be picking your food just because it's high in magnesium. You'll do all kinds of crazy things. People are having nuts all day, snacking on them because they have good fat in them. But you can't snack on nuts all day. They're going to clog you up, ruin your digestion, and put on weight fast. I mean, have some nuts, but people, they read about something. Oh, nuts got good fat. Now they're overdoing it. Oh, oatmeal has fiber and they're already overweight, and fiber is just going to put on more fat. All pig farmers, they give the pigs oats the last 2 weeks to plump them up. I mean, it'd put on weight even faster than wheat. And there you are, overweight, eating oats because it's high in fiber. You see the problem here? So you really have to let go of the whole nutritional approach. I mean, sure, if you go to the doctor and you're low in D3, go get some food-based D3, but this is not going to cure your diabetes. Another one that's kind of a big fad going on these days is intermediate fasting. Well, nobody's even talking about that 5 years ago. And people say, well, I'm doing intermediate fasting. And they're my old client. They're overweight. I told them already, just have 2 meals a day. Don't snack on anything but an apple if you're hungry. I said, I already was giving you intermediate fasting because I only told you to have 2 meals a day. So you're fasting every day. This whole concept of don't eat all day for 16 hours and then just eat whatever you want for 5 hours at the end of the day is completely wrong understanding of how to fast. I tell people, first of all, if you're thin and underweight and nervous and anxious and can't sleep well, don't fast. Now, if you're heavy and obese and, sleep like a rock and you want to lose a lot of weight, okay, fast. But if you're going to fast, you fast the whole day and you can have some liquids. Maybe you can have a fruit. An apple isn't going to hurt you. And then you start eating the next morning. That resets your whole digestive system. So this whole intermediate fasting that you keep hearing about, even though, of course, fasting does lower your blood sugar, it's only a piece of the puzzle. That's the problem with these people, is that they're researching, they're regurgitating what they read online. Oh, take the vitamin D, take the fiber, take probiotics, take magnesium, take berberine, and they think this is a cure-all, but they don't really know. They just read it online. And then they just repeat it to you, and it just sounds really good. Most of my clients are taking it. Another one, apple cider vinegar. Oh, yeah. Apple cider vinegar is not bad, but hey, I am a pitta type of person. I can get heartburn really easy. I have a strong appetite. I can easily have 3 nice meals a day. In fact, I need 3 nice meals a day. And apple cider vinegar just stimulates my appetite too much, particularly between meals. It's going to make me hungry. And if I drink it more than just a little bit with a lot of water, it gives me stomach acids and heartburn. So even if I had high blood sugar, I couldn't do apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar is good for the heavy, overweight kapha type who has no appetite and isn't feeling hungry until 3 or 4 in the afternoon, because that's very unhealthy to have no appetite. See, people don't realize that. A lot of people who are gaining weight think, well, I'm not even hungry till 3 o'clock. How come I'm still gaining weight? Well, if you're not hungry till 3 o'clock, you have a digestive problem and probably an elimination problem too. Even there's thin people who aren't hungry till 2 or 3 o'clock because they're not evacuating their bowels every day. So how could you have an appetite if you're not eliminating? But another subject. So I hope I covered some of these misconceptions. So it's not that fasting isn't good. It's just not for everybody, and you have to know how to do it right. It's not that apple cider couldn't help, but it's surely not enough to get your blood sugar numbers down. It's not that vitamins are bad, but most people think that's a cure-all, at least if you go online. And these extreme diets, they can give you results, but you're going to end up with other health problems in most cases if you do it too long. That's why herbal medicine has been around for thousands of years. Chinese herbalists can manage your blood sugar, get your pancreas going again. A good Western herbalist can do it, and definitely an Ayurvedic herbalist can do it. So let's go through some of these herbs. We'll do some Western herbs first, and we'll cover how these herbs work. And really, how they're working is they're focusing on your pancreas. They're restoring your pancreas to do its job. And they also, of course, now we know they're helping the body just to absorb the insulin and overcome this insulin resistance. That's the beauty of Ayurveda. They were treating people for conditions thousands of years ago, and they didn't really even know why to the same degree that we think today. There was no science backing them up. They didn't know about vitamins, minerals, insulin resistance, cellular. They didn't have that information, but they knew what worked, and they knew they were treating the pancreas, and they knew what the causes were. When you just only looking when you get these people talking about charts, and they're talking about the insulin, and they're talking about the glucose and the glycogen and the storing, this isn't helping to treat your condition. We know the herbs work, and we know that everybody's different. So everybody really needs a slightly different diet. And then the herbs too need to be adjusted, but you can do a lot on your own. And some of these herbs are easy and quite available. So let's take a look here. This is my website, Kabir's Clinic. And by the way, if you want to go see all the past events, go to events, past events right there. There's 150 of them. And if you still have to put in your name and to register, and then you can watch the past recording. But let's look at these testimonials. There's hundreds of testimonials under testimonials. So these are the testimonials just for blood sugar. And I do like what I say here at the top. Having too much sugar in the blood for long periods of time causes serious health problems. If it's not treated, hyperglycemia can damage the vessels that supply blood to the vital organs, which can increase the risk of heart disease, stroke, kidney failure, vision problems, and nerve problems. Fortunately, an individualized diet, that's important, and herbal treatments for the right herbs, we're not talking tinctures. Tinctures aren't going to do it. Not only manage the blood sugar levels, but rectify the metabolic imbalance and improve the pancreas function so that the herbs do not need to be taken indefinitely. That really sums it up right there. I think I wrote that more than 10 years ago. But but it really does sum it up. And you don't have to take the herbs forever. Medicine you take forever. Once the herbs fix this metabolic imbalance, this insulin resistance, improve the pancreas function, and you stick to the diet, then that's it. 3 months, 6 months, sometimes 1 year. Sometimes people still have to have a little tea every once in a while, but they're off the herbs. You don't take the herbs forever. Now you got to stick to the diet forever because that's how you got it. Here's a few testimonials here. We'll just look at the highlights. I no longer need anything but the herbs to control my blood sugar. So she was on medication. She lost 22 pounds. My blood sugar stayed between 120 and 136. She talks about getting off her medication. I have greatly reduced my need for daily long-acting insulin. Generally, I can get people off of the insulin too. They just need this. She was probably not even done with her treatment. She's talking about I've stabilized her blood sugar. She reduced down her long-acting insulin, and then she was just doing short-acting insulin, and then eventually she even didn't need the insulin. That's a more advanced condition. So here we help me to immensely get down my blood sugar. You have to read the details here. Never had a blood sugar crash again. I decreased my insulin. Another person talking about reducing their insulin to 2 units a daily. She's so happy, but she really wasn't done. So these are full testimonials with the person's name. Now, if we look at the products, they're under, if you go to Hermentis, our sponsor, of this webinar, all these are under weight loss, by the way. That's where they are in the system. So you can see all of these weight loss teas and formulas, they all talk about blood sugar to some degree, even the weight loss tea. But let's go look at the main one here. And this is one that's probably, I'm going to give you some herbs that you can buy on your own. And remember, when you're taking herbs for blood sugar, they don't work as well in capsules. So if you're just buying anything in capsule, like berberine or Gymnea sylvestre in capsule, it's never going to work as good as if you just get the powder, put it in a cup, add some water, mix it up, and shoot it down, because you need to have this absorbing in the system. You have to get away from this concept of capsule. And Ayurveda talks about that the body needs to taste the bitterness that you taste when you taste these herbs. And believe me, all blood sugar herbs are bitter. And that's why Ayurveda, it also says you want to reduce your blood sugar, you have to have bitter fruits and vegetables, particularly the vegetables. See, it's not just having a bunch of protein and skipping the carbs. There's also bitter vegetables help, like arugula is considered bitter. And there's many bitter greens. And there's even bitter vegetables, like bitter melon, which you can cook with. And so bitter is very important, because instead of sweet, you do bitter vegetables. And the protein can be of different sources. So here we have a tea, blood sugar management tea, we call it. So let's take a look at these ingredients, because these are easy to get ingredients. This is a simple formula. That's why I showed you first. The main ingredient, bitter melon. There it is, those round things. It looks like kind of a, it's a long kind of okra-shaped vegetable. And you can't cook it. If you cook it enough with some sauce, you don't even taste the bitterness. In India, you can get this vegetable dish, but you have to know how to cook it to kind of get the bitter out of it. But here it's dried. And now Gymnea sylvestre, now that's probably the most popular herb for managing your blood sugar, but people make a lot of mistakes when they take it. One, they take it in capsule. It's never going to absorb as well with the capsule. Two, timing is very important in life. Timing is important in business. Timing is important in lovemaking. Timing is important in taking herbs. So you got to take the herbs right after you eat. And sometimes you have to take them even before you eat if the blood sugar's high. We're going to talk about that more. But this is usually, I give this tea to take after meals, even an hour after meals or 30 minutes after the meal, because you need to get that blood sugar back down to normal within 2 hours. And the best time to measure your blood sugar, the morning's good. The morning fasting in the morning is a good number. But the what you really want to see is how fast you can get your blood sugar back down after the meal, and you want to avoid spikes. Now, of course, we have these patches that connect to our phone, and we could monitor it, and this has really helped everybody. In the old days, we just have the little test strips, which, I still have one. This is like my second or third one, and they work. But the monitor, that's the way to go, because then you can eat the meal, you can see your blood sugar spike. You can drink the tea, you can see your blood sugar come down. It's really helped a lot. In fact, it's kind of revolutionized treating diabetes, is because this monitoring system that people have now, it allows them to see, like I said, it allows them to see what foods are spiking it. And it allows them to see the herbs bringing it down and managing it. So they know, I better it brought it down 15 points. Let me have another cup. And then they'll take more. And that's usually the problem with people when they take herbs, is they just don't take enough. So those are the two powerhouses right there, bitter melon and Gymnea sylvestre. And you don't want to be taking it in a capsule. And you don't even want to take Gymnea sylvestre in extract. You want to take it, that's bitter green herb, and you want to taste it. Now, you can make a tea out of it, but it's even more effective. You just get it in powder form, which we're going to talk about, and just mix it with hot water and toss it down, 15, 20 minutes after the meal. Now, cinnamon and fenugreek by themselves are not enough to lower your blood sugar much, but they're kind of like supporting herbs, and they're probably in there at like 5%, 10%, or maybe they're 10, 10, and this is 40, 40. I made this formula. It's probably close to that. It's just giving you the numbers. But this is good. I use it as an extra if the blood sugar numbers are really high. Sometimes I give them the Indian herbs, which I'm going to talk about next, which are really more effective because you're digesting the whole herb over a tea. And then I give them this tea. I said, if you take the herbs after the meal, and in an hour, 2 hours later, your blood sugar is still high, take the tea. That's one way I use the tea. The other way I use it, if you're just kind of like pre-diabetic, the numbers aren't very high, but you're definitely having your ice cream, your cookies, and all of that stuff. So I got rid of the snacking, the cookies, the ice cream, and, got a little fat back up. Sometimes people just do low-fat diet, which isn't good for your blood sugar. So I fixed the diet, and they're not on meds. The blood sugar's not very high, so I don't even give them the Indian herbs. I just change the diet and give them the tea. Say, let's see how it goes in a month. And a lot of people say, wow, just changing the diet did it. Every time it was high, I had the tea 2 times a day, and I got it under control. They drink the tea, for a few months, and they're done. Over. They don't even need to take the herbs. But remember, the teas are not as powerful and as effective as the powders, which we're going to do next. Oh, there you can see it right there. There's the bitter melon. See, yeah, you can see bitter melon's it's probably like 60%, 60, 70%. And then you can see Gymnea maybe is 30 or 40. Then we got 10, and then we got 5% fenugreek. So you can kind of see the breakdown right there. And that is one bitter tasting formula. And that bitter, it doesn't even taste good. When I sell it online, I tell people it's bitter. It's not going to taste good. And you have to taste that bitter. That bitter is what's stimulating your pancreas. It's improving your pancreatic function. Just like too much sweets will damage your pancreas. We know that people who tried to be fruitarians, it was a famous computer guy, Steve Jobs, he tried to be a fruitarian. He just ate fruits and carrots, and then he got pancreatic cancer from it. So he just damaged his pancreas beyond belief by just having constant sweets. So you have, instead of the sweet, you have the bitter. The pancreas needs bitter. Liver likes bitter too. So you're improving your liver function, and you're improving your pancreatic function, all by taking bitter herbs and bitter foods. It's very important. The next important thing you should understand is that a single herb will never work as good as one. This is another mistake people make. They just do the Gymnea, or they just think fenugreek or cinnamon is going to do. Well, first of all, fenugreek and cinnamon aren't going to do much. They're just supportive. But even just Gymnea is not as good. I always like to say, like, If you look at military, they're, like a commando unit. They all have different roles, different positions, and they're powerful because they're a team and they all have different abilities. Even though they're all good fighters, they still have strengths and weaknesses, and a team balances them out. That's why formulas are always better than single herbs. I don't sell single herbs. I don't give out single herbs. I don't use single herbs. And tinctures are even weaker than the tea. So forget the tincture, forget the capsule, forget the single herbs. At least go buy some bitter melon and some Geminia and maybe a little cinnamon because it's not too bitter, and drink that and measure your blood sugar and see how far you can go. That would be my advice. Now, if we want to look at something really powerful, let's take a look at this ancient formula on treating blood sugar. Now, there's herbs here that you're not going to hear of very often. The first one is Vijasar. Vijasar is the first herb, and most people don't know it. It is very powerful herb for your pancreas. See, it says for unstable blood sugar, poor pancreatic function. We're treating the pancreas, and even insulin resistance. But really, see the pancreas. We're treating the pancreas. Vijasar is the best for the pancreas. Bilva, another great herb we use for a lot of. It's an astringent herb we use. And Gumar, that's the Indian name for Geminia sylvester. So there's Gumar. That's your Geminia sylvester. Neem. Many people have heard of neem. Neem's another bitter herb. All these are bitter. And jamun, another great herb, particularly jamun, you're going to see use a lot for insulin resistance. When they're insulin dependent, I use a lot more jamun. There's the fenugreek again, little backup in there. It's a supportive herb. There's Karela. That's the Indian name for bitter melon. And Tulsi and Dado Haldi. Haldi actually means turmeric. That's how you say turmeric in Sanskrit is haldi, but this is Dado Haldi, so you could basically think it's like super turmeric, but it's only a small amount. The main herbs there are definitely the Vijasar, Bilvar, Gumar, and Neem, and Jamun. And, we do sell it in capsules. That's why you saw the picture, but it's always better to take it in powder form. In fact, some of my patients, they were taking it in powder form. They go, oh, it's so bitter. Oh, I'm going to die. I can't do the bitter. Sorry, I have to imitate you if you've called me and said that. And if you're a man, I just say, suck it up, be a man. And if you're a woman, I say, just say right before you take it, suck it up, princess. And that usually solves it. But if you still come back and you say, oh, I can't do it, the bitter's killing me, I feel like it's dying, then we will give it to you in capsule. And then sometimes they get back to me and say, oh, I'm taking the capsule, but it's not working. Well, you're going to have to take a lot more in capsule, because here, the powder, when you take the powder, you only need a half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon before meals, and then even after meals if needed. See, so mostly we give this herb before meals. You want to just starting to eat, you're throwing in these bitter herbs, and then the blood sugar never comes up. Now, if the blood sugar is still spiking, then you have to take it a second time after meals. But this all depends on case by case situation. But if you do choose to do it in capsule, you'll have to take a lot more than just one capsule. You may have to take 3 or 4 of these before the meal and maybe 3 or 4 after the meal. But this is a very, very powerful formula. There's actually another herb, Sarpagandhi. There's another herb in there too that's really rare, but we don't always have it. It's so hard to find. So it obviously wasn't in that batch. And it talks about it. If you go here, it talks about this powerful formula lowers blood sugar after each dose and slowly corrects the metabolic imbalance resulting in insulin resistance. Most of the herbs are bitter, known to lower blood sugar. Other herbs are more pungent, dry, and bitter, thus stimulating the pancreatic function, according to Ayurveda. It says who it's for, how to take it, before meals, after meals if needed, And it's got some notes here. Better, you have to change your diet. Better to do an appointment. So there are other ones. Now, this is another formula if you're insulin dependent. So sometimes I put people on this one first, and there you can see the Vijasar is first, and the Jamun is in there. It's just it's not all the herbs. You don't see the fenugreek anymore because it's not that powerful. It's just a more powerful formula, and we use it for people who are insulin dependent or taking insulin. And then once they can get the insulin down, then I move them to the other formula. So a person could be taking this one formula before the meal. They could be taking this after the meal, and then they could be having the tea. They could be doing all three if the numbers are really high. And then if they're on medication, what will happen? They just stay on the medication, start taking the herbs. And then once they get low blood sugar, which sometimes can happen pretty fast if the people are good and they take the herbs enough. A lot of times people just don't take it enough. And I just tell them double it until they get the results. But some people, 2-3 weeks, if they're really disciplined and change the diet quickly and takes the herb quickly, they're dropping their meds even faster than I would recommend it, because I always tell them once you get low blood sugar, you have to either reduce the herbs or reduce your medication. And it seems like most people would rather reduce the medication. And that's what they do. Now, we have other products that help with blood sugar, particularly if it's not too high. This one's appetite control tea, and it helps with cravings. It's a little relaxing. It's got the lemon balm for relaxing, chickweed for weight loss, water retention, and there's the Gemenia sylvestre for your blood sugar. There's the cinnamon, a little bit for your blood sugar. Even stevia isn't bad for the blood sugar. And the Garcinia Cambodia is a sour fruit. Sour can be good for weight loss, fat metabolism. So this is kind of a weight loss, calming blood sugar formula. And nothing hot, because ginger and hot spices will stimulate the appetite. We're trying to reduce the appetite, so we use cooling herbs like fennel. And we don't want swings in the blood sugar, which creates appetite. So there's Gemenia sylvestre. So this is used also to help with cravings, snacking. And so if a person has a big snacking problem, I may still be giving them the blood sugar herbs, but between the meals, I give them this, which will help a little bit with the blood sugar, but more important, stop the snacking. Even if we look at our weight loss formulas, we can also see some of the same herbs over here. We can see Gumar's in there, which is Gemenia sylvestre. We can see some fenugreek in there. We see the Jamun in there. So we can see some blood sugar herbs in there. It's not the whole formula, because this formula is for weight loss. So it's got kind of herbs that are cleansing, a little bit stimulating metabolism. It says stabilizing blood sugar. And there's herbs like kukti that are good for the liver. So, people ask, how come your your weight loss formula works so well? It's really doing each of the herbs like a team, they're all doing different tasks. And the results is weight loss if you're following the right diet. And again, we do sell it in capsules, but I recommend you do it in powder. Even if it tastes bad, you will find that you won't have to take as much, and you'll get used to the terrible taste in time. So all those products, and you can see they're all on sale right now for 5% off. And there's other ways. Of course, it's always better to do an appointment with me and let me dictate the diet for you. In this case, if it was a simple condition, I would just say, okay, here's what you do. But when you talk about diabetes, it's better you do an appointment, so I can adjust your diet. You don't do anything crazy and radical and end up with nutritional problems. And I can pick not only the formulas, but I can give you the proper dosages. And your condition will change so quickly that you're probably going to need feedback in like 2 weeks. Like, oh no, now I have low blood sugar. What do I do? So, you have to, it's not working. I still have high blood sugar. What should I do? So, the dosages have to change. So I'm texting people, mostly answering their questions. So tech support is very, very important here because these herbs are so effective. People are shocked. I mean, like just today, somebody emailed me and said, "Oh, I can't believe it worked." And whenever people say that, I always have the same answer. Did you think I was messing around? Do you think I was playing around? Do you think I'm just some social media guy here making a lot of promises? Oh, no, no. I believed you, but they're still surprised. So I can tell they didn't totally have faith and totally believe it, even though maybe somebody referred them. But once you see the results, once you see your blood sugar coming down, once you see the herbs working, and then you do it for a few months, and then you realize you can not only get off your medication, you have to keep taking the herbs, then you can slowly even reduce the herbs down. Now, I do have people that keep buying some of the herbs, but even the weight loss herbs, you can keep taking those long term because they got some blood sugar herbs in it. So a lot of times I'll leave people with some product like appetite control, weight loss tea, or something just to keep a check on this blood sugar for a little long run, for the long term, until they lose all the weight. I've had people lose 120 pounds, and then, you have to stop even the weight loss herbs. You can't just keep going with these. None of these products really are for long term. I mean, you can take sleeping herbs long term. I know sometimes colon herbs you need to take on and off long term, but they don't hurt you. They're all ground up plants. And and the funny thing is about this, when you're taking these herbs, say you're taking some blood sugar herb before the meal, you're taking after meal, you're drinking the tea, they're all plants and they all have vitamins in them. Now, in the ancient time, they didn't break it down by vitamins. Nowadays, people get these herbs and they go, wow, this herb has a lot of magnesium in it. Wow, this herb, has this amino acid in it. Now we know why it works. Well, it's not necessary to really know why it works. In ancient time, they didn't look at things in terms of vitamins and minerals, and they knew that the herbs work. So, looking at things from just a nutritional point of view is kind of like the middleman. It's kind of like a theory in between that's just helping you understand just a small amount of what a food or herb does. And herbalists don't talk in nutritional terms. The nutrition is in all of those herbs. It's in there. Amlaki, for example, is super high in vitamin C, and you can see it's in a lot of anti-inflammatory formulas. It's a main herb in Triphala, which is used a lot, and now we know it's super high in vitamin C. So the nutritional value is in the herbs. So a lot of times I can just tell people, stop all your vitamins and just follow the diet, take the herbs, and then once we've got the diabetes taken care of, I'll do nutritional therapy at the end. And then particularly when I have their blood work, and we've got maybe some nutritional deficiencies, which I've seen from the beginning. And then maybe we recommend, okay, get this whole food-based vitamin D. Okay, food-based magnesium every night isn't going to hurt you. So we can put in, a man or woman, food-based multi is good. I take one. But initially, when you're trying to treat chronic condition like high blood sugar, I just focus on getting it under control because I only know it's only going to take me a few months. Even if there's a few nutritional problems in there for a few months, I don't worry about it. I worry about it at the end. Ayurveda treats nutrition. In fact, I have a lot of nutritional products. Even on herbmanteas.com, there's a whole section on nutritional products, and they're all herbal, using things like spirulina and everything, which is also good for weight loss. And it's got all the vitamins in it. So there's nutritional therapy in Ayurveda. They just don't do it in the beginning. They do it at the end. We call it Rasayana, restorative building therapy, because you want to get rid of the chronic life-threatening problem first. Most everybody's got some nutritional deficiencies to some degree. So usually after their health issues are done, then we focus on, okay, now that your blood sugar is better, okay, you can have a little bit more fruit. Maybe your cholesterol's gone. Your numbers are good now. You don't have fatty liver. Okay, you can have a little bit more animal protein. So once you've treated the chronic condition, then we can open up and relax the diet a little bit, which will help avoid nutritional problems. And of course, then we can recommend some supplements. Unfortunately, most of my clients don't hang around for the end. They just send me a testimonial and say, thank you very much for taking care of my high blood pressure. Thank you very much for taking care of my high blood sugar. And they're goodbye. But they really should keep doing appointments so I can check on the nutritional status, keep refining and modifying their diet, because in Ayurveda, we have different diets in the summer than we do have in the winter. So I would still keep working with the person to keep their diet adjusted for the seasons, adjusted for avoiding any nutritional problems. And usually people have other health problems too, like insomnia or constipation or nervousness, which they don't care as much about. And they just often they don't continue these treatments. So I always encourage you, don't just treat your major life-threatening health condition. I always try to treat my patients holistically. If they're not sleeping, I got to treat the sleep. If they're not digesting good, I have to fix the digestion. These are the basics. I mean, I've done some appointments with people where the whole end of the appointment is quite common, where they realize they just have to sleep better, digest better, and eliminate more. That was it. They weren't on taking meds. They had no serious health problems, but of course they were fatigued and tired and dependent on coffee and not feeling good and not having good energy. But it was all based on poor digestion, poor elimination, poor sleep. And when I focus on that, a month later, their energy's better and they're feeling better. So those are the fundamentals. Those are the basics. And they should always be included in a treatment. And that's why when you get and you're just following somebody online that tells you, okay, take vitamin D, take more fiber, take B12, take chromium, this canned approach is never a good idea. And then they say, okay, just go keto diet, no carbs, all this high protein, high fat. This is always just a shoot in the dark. It may be helpful, but, without knowing the patient, it's really a disservice to tell everybody that type of diet is the only treatment they should be doing. So individualized diet is the way to go. And you can determine your own Ayurvedic body type by either doing an appointment with an Ayurvedic doctor. You can go online and take a bunch of tests, but that diet is still the fundamental that you should be following, even if you have high blood sugar. Now, if you're skinny, thin, Vata, and you go look at the Ayurvedic diet for Vata, it's got bananas. But if you got blood sugar, you got to take the bananas out. You can't be snacking on bananas. But if you're skinny, Vata, and you don't have high blood sugar issues, bananas are good for you. But if you've already got diabetes, you can't have bananas. So I take the Vata Pitta diet, Pitta Kapha diet, whatever diet is suitable for this person, and then I just remove a few things that would not be suitable for the health condition that they have. I don't just go pick some blood sugar diet or extreme diet or canned diet. No. I'm still going to give them their Ayurvedic diet, because you got to give a cat food. You got to give a bird food. You can't change what the person needs too much. It's just if they've got a couple other health problems on top of it, I may have to restrict it a little bit, but I'm still always use the base diet that's suitable for that person's body type, dosha. And because I don't want to create other imbalances and other health issues by giving them a diet that's just not suitable for that individual. And again, I'm using the herbs or the remedy, not the diet. The diet is just avoiding the problem. The diet may have caused the problem, so obviously it has to change. It's the cause, but it's not going to necessarily reverse it right away. Maybe in years it will reverse it, but to do it quickly, you need the herbs. So it's the diet, the lifestyle, and the herbs in combination for these advanced conditions. If your blood sugar is not advanced, it's easy to change the diet, a little bit of herbs, you'll be fine. But most people come to me, the condition's already very advanced. So I have to have a more strict diet and more herbs, because they've already gone for 10 years. They've already been on the medicine. They've already had to increase the medicine, and they're already now going to go on insulin. So they always come to me at the later stages. So I have to use a lot of these products, sometimes 3 of these products for that type of case. But if you're in the early stages, change the diet, maybe have a little Geminia and bitter melon tea, or go to herbmanteas.com and get the blood sugar tea and measure your blood sugar, and that could be enough. But if it's not enough, then you're better to do an appointment. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope you realize, or I like to say, wake up to the fact that this condition is 100% treatable, even in the advanced cases. But don't let it be advanced, or you're already going to have, then you're going to have then I got to treat the neuropathy too. I got a lot of my blood sugar cases and they got neuropathy. It's a whole nother condition now. So if you let it go too long, you can have eye damage, nerve damage, high blood cardiovascular damage, and these all make the treatment more complicated. So it's not that it's not treatable, it's that if you wait too long, the damage has already been done. That's why you got to really avoid high blood sugar. And you should just cut out all sweets in your life. No cookies, no candy, no ice cream. Even if it's coconut ice cream, skip it. No snacking, no even organic cookies, organic protein bars, skip it. No, the fruit juices, even though they're organic, skip it. Don't do it. That's prevention. That's what you really need to be doing, is prevention. And if you do the prevention and just eat that way, you can still have your fruit, you can still have your carbs, and you'll be all right. Maybe even you can have a birthday cake every once in a while. But that's the real first step for everybody. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have more hope that you can treat this condition, and do not think that it's untreatable, because I've done it hundreds of times, and I tried from the best of my heart to share with you the knowledge of how to treat it and what I use to treat it in my methodology. Even though it's quite sophisticated, I tried to explain it to you to help you, to at least let you know it's very treatable. God bless you all.